Awesome.
Welcome to the 20th anniversary of Real Affirmations LGBTQ Plus International Film Festival, held October 20 through 22nd in our nation's capital. This year's historical film festival presents 58 new, retro, and compelling international documentary, short, and feature films from over 22 countries. 32 films will be screened live at the state of the art movie theater inside the Eden Hotel at 1201 K Street Northwest in Washington, D.C. And 43 films can be viewed virtually from the comfort of your home or that long commute. Joining me today is one of our filmmakers to give us a behind the scenes peek at their inspiration, process, and anecdotal experiences in the making of Woman Meets Girl. Welcome, Murry Peeters, and thank you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your inspiration in creating this film that at while I watched it, by the time I got to the end, I was like, give me the vapors, give me the vapors.
Amazing. My inspiration. I guess I'm always interested in the multiple facets of people and like defying people's expectations, I guess. And so with this, I really wanted to highlight two different characters who seemed very different from one another,
Yeah,
kind of on the surface or at the outset, and then over time realizing that they're more similar than dissimilar.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. And it definitely comes across. And I think that is going to be the twist for us.
Mm,
Because initially watching the opening scene with the texting, it's whoa, what is going to happen with this? But I think that's a beautiful twist. In making this film, either in subject or just contributing to the catalog of LGBTQ films, particularly lesbian themed films. Do you have any other inspiration for filmmakers for content or cinematography?
uh, yeah. I mean, I guess some of the things that inspired me in like the writing of this and the making of this were movies like Portrait of a Lady on Fire. What else? Carol. Um, yeah, I would say that those were sort of like the main ones. I guess there was also this. I don't know how obscure of a film this is, but I hadn't heard of it until a friend of mine told me about it. But this movie called Loving Annabelle.
Oh, okay. Is that what inspired you to name our
No,
character?
I'd actually
Oh,
I'd actually had that name long before
oh
then.
my gosh,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. I've never heard of Loving Annabelle, but I
Mm.
shall look her up and see if she lives up to your Annabelle. So, without giving away any spoilers, what are the meta themes that you'd like our audience to know, feel, to sense from watching Woman Meets Girl?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's sort of what I was saying at the outset about just not judging a book by its cover. And yeah, like I think what was important to me was telling these characters' story without any kind of like judgment, I guess, around it or around them. Um, yeah, and just this idea that connection can come from the most kind of unexpected places, I guess. And I don't know, just sit down and talk to the person next to you because you don't know who someone is unless you talk to them.
That's right. And to get close enough to talk to them. Speaking of which, the hand scene, the close shot on the hand play, I think that's every lesbian's idea of flirting.
Yeah.
I mean, we write poems about, hands. And so that was one of the most striking films because we are used to seeing close-ups of faces or
Mm,
even bare breasts, bare butt, bare whatever. But the message in the hands was just phenomenal.
thank
They were
you.
both beautiful and strong. And if there was any doubt up until that point, we knew then,
Hmm.
just because of how marvelously that was shot, So anyway, that had me fanning, and then I just went on ahead and passed
Thanks, I
out at the
appreciate
end.
that.
One of the things that I appreciated was, um, while the one character uh, was dressed age appropriately, and some would say skimpy. You didn't focus on that. It's like
Mm.
every time she moved across the camera, it was with intention. And so it didn't draw us to that. And so it didn't feel exploitative the way that that attire or those shots can be taken. So say much more about the intentionality of body positivity and how that came across in your mind while you were making it. And did I capture the essence of it in how I observed it?
Yeah, I mean, I think you absolutely did. And that's actually something that I've never really talked much about in any of these like Q&As or interviews or anything that I've done on this film. So bravo. Yeah, because it was definitely a bit of a challenge in for both characters actually just figuring out what was the thing that they were going to be wearing and to really pedal that line, I guess, of like wanting it to feel appropriate to the character, but also not kind of this exploitative,
Mhm,
gratuitous thing.
mhm,
Um, yeah, but I think a lot of that really, I think, is also to the actor's credit in the way that she kind of embodies the character, um, and just in her kind of general physicality. And I think a lot of like the blocking in camera was sort of inspired by the young actress. And we did a lot of rehearsal as well before we shot. So I think really having time to kind of sit with those characters in that scene and figuring out what are the things about them that maybe I didn't even know when I wrote it.
where did you, who casted them for you? Like, where did you find them? Are they random or were they open call, or are they the best friends of somebody that you know that was just waiting to get in front of the camera? Because they're both gorgeous and the chemistry is so sweet.
Yeah, actually, so Anuka, who plays the older woman, she was a friend of the producers, and I'd always kind of grown up watching her. Like I grew up watching her on like Rookie Blue, um, and so I was always like a really big fan of hers and her work. And so when my producer kind of mentioned her as potentially being an option because she happened to be in town at the time, she lives in LA, but she was in Toronto. uh and I had a chance to meet with her and just discuss the character and like her point of view on it, and just seeing that she just really understood what I was trying to do, that it was just like, yeah, it was amazing, her desire to like be part of it. And then for Chelsea, um that came through sort of like an open call. We worked with a casting director, saw a bunch of different tapes, and I had seen her before in a play, and I remember her sort of being like one of the standout performers in that. And
Mm-hmm.
then I think just immediately when we all saw her tape, there was just something about her that was very unpredictable, that felt very much like the character.
Mm-hmm. And they are both stunning, as we lay people would say. The camera loves them. The camera absolutely loves them. Um, in um, casting and the actor's performance, were the silences scripted, or did you just allow them? Because there were moments where there were extended silences compared to, if we think about the L Word or a television show where every moment has to have a sound in it. There were these wonderful, um, I don't want to say slow moving moments because the intensity of the silences held us, but I noticed that there were the more than just the silent glances, there were silences. So did you write them in, or did the actors bring that to life?
Yeah, I think some of them were written in. Um, Others, I think, were just discovered through,
Mm-hmm.
again, through the rehearsals and partially in the edits as well. Um, but yeah, I think to me that just feels very much like me in a way, like just being kind of introspective, I suppose.
Yeah, and they both had their character and their backstory was so well defined, even in the brevity of this being a short.
Mm,
We knew them. And to see a woman positive sex worker and one who still says, but that softness and that femininity isn't lost to my survival. And so that was just a stunning, and that's as far as representation goes. We don't see that much, and I
mm,
can't recall, and I've seen a lot of films, but I couldn't recall any place where a sex worker of color was actually shown in such tenderness
mm.
and off the clock, or off her back, and how
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
beautiful of a moment that was for us. So both of the characters have that, like I said, that big screen look. They are the dichotomy that they are in so many ways, not only in the attire, not only in the backstory, not only in their physical presence of conservative and round the way girl. What is it about your cinematography that you had to lean into to really capture that for us?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, and I think that was maybe something that I felt nervous about at the outset about this project because it is really just two people in a room, and almost real time,
Mhm.
conversation that they're having,
Yes.
and just really wanting to like make sure that it would, I don't know, not be boring, I guess.
It wasn't. It wasn't.
Thankfully, my DP was incredibly skilled. And I think for both of us, it was really just about being able to like give breath to the moments and have the camera feel like an observer, but like inobtrusive observer.
Mhm. 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 Definitely. Now, where was this shot? Is this someone's home, or did you go to an Airbnb, which is the new buzzword for on location these days? And for it to be a single room shot, everything was realistic in its location. So whose place was this?
Yeah, luckily, Anuka, a friend of hers, was house sitting for house sits regularly for this man who goes out of town. I guess some kind of like snowbird situation. So he goes out of town every year. And so that happened to fall kind of in our shooting period, and the homeowner was okay with us kind of shooting there. And so he like donated the location to us,
Oh,
and allowed us to just kind of come in and do our thing. And I guess one of the maybe fun, interesting stories or whatever about the film was that we'd originally intended to shoot it kind of over, it was a 2 day shoot, supposed to be over one weekend. But, because of COVID, after our first day of shooting, we ended up having to shut down. And after that, Anuka went back to LA and just like everybody was kind of doing their own thing. And so we weren't able to come back and get that second day of shooting until pretty much a year to the day later.
what?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I mean, everybody that we worked with, I think, did an incredible job of like maintaining the continuity of everything. And
Absolutely,
like,
because now I'm sitting thinking, I didn't see, and I'm the person who watches the film and sees that the shoes change.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
and I'm like, no, because I'm going to go back and watch.
yeah.
Oh, that is amazing. So,
Yeah,
how long between the first shoot and the finishing shoot?
about a year,
It was a
almost
full
a
year.
day. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm glad everybody was well and able to come back
for sure. And
to the project.
we got quite lucky with the homeowner didn't make any major changes to the house or get rid of any furniture, like
No,
anything. And yeah, no, we just got lucky, I guess.
because it
Lucky
really
but
felt
lucky.
like a 15-minute conversation. It
Hmm.
just really, I mean, we were so there. One of the unique things about the setting was it wasn't glaring light. There was such sort of we have lamps on instead of overhead lights.
Hmm.
How did you create that ambiance and still give us such a clear shot of the fore camera and the background?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that was my DP's idea actually of
Right.
trying to make it feel as much as like just using practical, like you know, obviously we used additional lights, but
Hmm,
making it
hmm.
seem mostly like just the practical lights of the space and the lamps and all of that. Yeah, like I said, just a very talented guy.
Well, that was I think that made the coziness of the film as well as the relatability. And like you said,
Mm,
it made it so present for us. We were there because getting off of work, that's kind of the lighting that we have in our home,
mhm.
right as the sun is setting, and just relaxing and chilling and having left pizza boxes, or having not done the dishes and all of that. And that added to definitely to the storyline and believability of the experience of this film. Before we wrap up, I want to ask you: were there any? Well, you already told us about the COVID blooper, but were there any other moments where the dramatics had you all falling out in laughter, or anything that happened that you had to think fast on your feet? Now, this is for those the young filmmakers when when they hear these interviews, they
Mm.
they won't panic, but they say be prepared for anything. Are there any moments like that where you had to make the writer's decision on the spot?
Uh, hmm. Not so much that I recall. I mean, I think, like I said, the biggest one was just, you know, after that first day of shooting and then having to kind of regroup after that and figure out, okay, how are we going to finish? Are we going to finish this film? How are we going to finish this film? Um, and, you know, keeping up the morale through all of
Yeah.
that. Um, yeah, but like otherwise, I think one of my favorite moments, I think, whenever I watch the film is there's this moment where the two characters near the end of the film where they're sitting on the couch and you know, figuring out how to end the film and like what that kind of final interaction between the two of them was going to be was something that we did played around a lot with in rehearsal. And so when it came to shooting as well, I sort of had a few different versions that I kind of wanted to try and figure out, okay, well, how far do they really take this interaction? And where is sort of like the perfect sort of balance?
Mm-hmm.
And so there was a moment where I think I'd asked Chelsea to like try to make Anuka laugh. And so she kind of like tickles her or whatever. And
Yeah, yeah, that was
Or Anuka said that she was, you know, she says, I'm ticklish. And then she's like, oh, I shouldn't have told you that. And that moment wasn't scripted, but it was definitely one of my one of my favorite moments of the shoot and of
yes.
the film.
Yes. And again, it was just one of those. All lesbians are going to relate to this moment because, we've had those, especially um, I would say in my younger years. But so that's just has that experience, and watching the film as far as representation goes, it's going to really carry over and I think be attractive to our audience. Um, and the ending, whatever endings you tried, that one was so perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It was less jarring than the Who Shot JR, but it wasn't the predictability. It
Mm-hmm.
just felt like there were options of how this could go if you cast yourself in either character's shoes, and discovering that the having never been loved,
Mm-hmm.
that moment is one of those where it's like she may know now how to pursue it
Yeah.
as Chelsea challenged her, or Chelsea's character challenged her to do it. And so I love the multi layers of it. I think that's going to translate to our audience as something new and fresh. And if it turns into a TV show, we'll be right there watching. And my goodness, it was a beautiful experience. And thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for it. Are there any final words for emerging filmmakers? Words of encouragement, words of production tips, other than having an excellent executive producer? Is that who you told me was the gym for you?
Producer, yeah.
Your producer?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think it's having a good producer is definitely an integral part of the process. But beyond that, I think is just always find a way to make what you want to make. You know, I was sort of reflecting on the journey of this film just the other day, and how like I just got nominated for my first Directors Guild of Canada award for this film. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And just looking back on this journey of like, you know, all of the rejections that I got with the script in terms of like trying to get financing and just
Mm-hmm.
like all the avenues that I had to pursue to like get the money myself and figure out a way to kind of pull this thing together. And, you know, I guess it's that old saying of like the best revenge is to live well.
Yes, yes. And I
And so
think
I'm like, you know,
yeah,
not
this
bad
one
for
is
the
going to
little film
live.
that no one wanted to make.
Yeah, this one is going to live for a long time. It's going to, I can imagine it being an iconic a coming of age, all of those that, that I looked at back in in the 70s.
Mm,
But it's just it was so well done and the story so well told. And as African American women, it it is so relatable.
mm.
The location, the exchange, the backstories, all of it was just so wonderful. So thank you so much for making it for us.
And
And
thank you for screening it.
yeah, we really enjoyed it. And so, friends, thank you, Murry Peters, for enhancing our patrons' experience with this gift of time and insight and laughter and fanning myself. Thank you for A Woman Meets Girl. And it's screening virtually. I encourage everyone to make sure you locate it in our shorts features. And the tickets for the film festival, whether in person or online, can be purchased at thedccenter.org/real affirmations, and expect all the feels: laughter, tears, reflection, and pure awe. On behalf of Kimberly Bush, Director of the DC Center and Real Affirmations, we invite you to join us for this iconic film experience. Signing off with immense gratitude to our filmmakers, supportive patrons, and our August roster of sponsors: Muriel Bowser's Office on LGBTQ Affairs, Gilead, AIDS Health Foundation, Wegmans, and Tito's. I'll see you at the movies. Thank you. Thank you so much, Murry.